All right, what's this tweet?
This is just a new
like
tweet
this.
Trump put out. Lindsey Graham said the measured response by President Trump regarding the shooting down of an American drone was clearly seen by the Iranian regime as a sign of weakness. And then Trump says, no, Lindsey, it was a sign of strength that some people just don't understand.
Oh my God.
Some people, Lindsey, don't get it.
You want to talk about
Some people
abuse?
are idiots.
How embarrassed he's made Lindsey
Wow.
Graham over the years.
The way Donald Trump has cucked all of these
He's
people,
becoming
beautiful.
presidential.
It's very presidential. I mean, I was of the school, and there's structural factors, but I really did think, like, look, if Trump is unpopular, if there's any kind of shakeup in the economy, I think he actually is quite electable against Trump, and I think obviously he's the best choice. But I really thought, like, look, even people that I think are total trash could probably beat Donald Trump, including definitely Joe Biden. And the more I watch them debate, I'm like, I think this is actually a problem. Like,
Yeah.
I honestly, and like just objectively, I think there's big problems with Warren in terms of the base she's assembling. Like, that is not what you go into a general election with. Joe Biden, I mean, are you kidding me? This guy's going to be able to deal with Donald Trump? And let alone, I mean, please, you really think Beto O'Rourke or Pete Buttigieg?
No.
Like, let's be real.
This isn't a conversation. Bernie would be the best candidate to defeat Donald Trump based on demographics and the campaign that he's assembling.
I'm not even trying to make the Bernie argument right now. I'm trying to say I'm legit getting concerned.
No, me too. I'm
Yeah.
concerned as the polling has not shaken up enough based on what we have seen. It's like people aren't paying attention yet. Maybe they aren't. But they better fucking start because it's scary. And I agree with you about the Warren demographics. Part of that, I don't know if it's entirely her campaign's fault, but some of it might be the people she's hiring too. I do worry. I went to the rally yesterday and there is this crossover. Like, we may differ here. I do think that her base is more moderate than even she is, and with her inclinations, there are a lot of people that are just like, yeah, woman. And I'm like, no, that's not what we're talking about
I
here.
think that's true.
Yeah,
I think
and
that's
so,
true. She's locking down the gluten sensitivity vote. It's the
Yeah.
third time I use that joke,
Yeah,
and I
that's
like it.
good. I mean,
Yes.
yeah, so that's scary
We have
for
a
me.
lot of people at the cafes who are like, is there any way I could have oat milk with that?
Right.
I just feel like Bernie
Almond.
doesn't have a plan.
Just so many plans
So
printed
many
out in so
plans.
many pages,
So annoying.
which I will recycle.
Yeah.
No, but yeah,
And
but
not read and
Right.
pretend you read.
Well,
they're reading it. They're just Medium posts, guys. Like, don't.
Yeah.
I love when people come to me like, "Have you read her plans?" I'm like, I have read her Medium blog posts. Have you?
have you? She might have an easier path to the nomination within the current Democratic electorate, but he would have a better chance to defeat Trump in the general. That's always what I stand with.
Right. No, I think there's no doubt about that. But I'm not saying like, just for a minute, because I actually think it's interesting.
Yeah.
I don't think my perspective on Elizabeth Warren, because I always say like, look, she isn't Bill Clinton. She isn't Hillary Clinton. She isn't Joe Biden. Like, that's ridiculous. She was on the right side of some really big fights. I think, though, that she is, at the end of the day, I think she is a technocrat. And I think that she, like, if we lived in a somewhat functioning society, we would have done the things that she was advocating all along. It would have been like, okay, there needs to be consumer protections because the credit card companies are getting more complex and there's new financial instruments and we need stuff that's fit to purpose and blah, blah, blah. And meanwhile, everybody was just deregulating with no regard for anything. But I think that, and this is actually the dialectic of her, because that's fine. It's not my politics, but I think it fits in a tradition and it's better than a lot of other options. But I think she appeals to a mindset of people who really don't actually want to like seriously deepen democracy and really say like, no, like it isn't just a question of like making it a little bit more pleasant for people that are on like the receiving end of society. It's about actually giving power. Like if you ban, right to work legislation and you empower labor unions and you cut the prison population by half, and you do a federal job and housing guarantee and healthcare, the implications of that are beyond even policy. You're raising the whole baseline of what people expect and then how they will act in politics. And I think that there's a lot of people that I talk to in the Warren coalition that are uncomfortable with that part of it, actually. They still want like, no. I want smart people. There's that like smartness obsession directing something from the top down. And that's when you get like there's one guy, and I love you, Zach. You tweet at me all the time. And he's like, well, wouldn't like a rezoning thing be better than a housing guarantee? It's like, no.
Yeah, well, I mean,
no, it wouldn't, because
you're saying
one is
exactly
the
what it
fundamental
is.
structure. Yeah.
Bernie wants more structural change, and she wants significant regulation
Definitely.
to improve. That's the heart of it. And so people who have a shallow understanding of politics, who liked Hillary Clinton based on cultural identifying factors, are still flocking to her, even though I think our politics are certainly very different from that of Hillary Clinton. I don't even think it's a question.
They are.
Yeah.
I'm a super strong critic of her. It's delusional. They don't have the same politics.
Yeah.
I mean, they have similar foreign policy, and I can't separate foreign policy.
So this is where
domestically,
we're
they're different.
like, so and why I love your show is because you are super consistent on foreign policy, and this is your issue, and it should be, it should be everyone's too. I wrote my honors thesis.
Oh,
Sorry, I had to fuck around there.
Oh,
on campaign finance.
She wrote an
reform.
honest thesis.
Yeah. And
I guess I should hand the main mic to you now.
Why I got into this business is because I guess I'll just get kind of personal, right? Like, So my parents are corporate lawyers and stuff, and I witnessed the greed of people on Wall Street and all of this kind of elitism of people in these crusty circles here in New York and all that stuff, upper crust. And I feel she's very vitriolically against that. So maybe I'm softer on her than perhaps others on the left, because that's my issue. And that's why I feel maybe the gap is closer than other people think, because I'm so my heart is so in that, very taking on Wall Street, taking on the big moneyed interests that are centered here, because I know how significant those concentrations of power are and how few and far between politicians that actually will take on those moneyed interests are. And there's like 2 in the Senate, and they're both running for president. And
Wait, what was your thesis on?
Campaign finance reform. And so it was just really about,
I was going to do a Jank impression.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean,
when Jank first met with the interview, like, wait, campaign finance reform?
But it was through a political theorized lens. So I use like old school. I went through constitutional law, and I went back to the 1800s, and I traced back where it went wrong, where the original text that the Supreme Court misinterpreted was from, and how we got to this specific point. And basically it was like in the 1970s where all hell broke loose, but I wanted to trace back specifically how they were able to use precedent in this specific scenario, and then use political theory to make my case to overhaul the entire campaign finance system. So the whole reason I work in this industry is because of a very, my heart, that's where my heart is. So that's why I maybe, that's where my ideology lies with her.
So I want to just respond to that in a second, but I want to sort of build a bridge. So, when people tweet and they're upset because, Emma has, as an example, maybe criticized Tulsi's approach to Kashmir, and she's defending something you've said about Warren, consider the fact that her relationship to Warren's sort of advocacy for regulating Wall Street might have the similar emotional component for you when you watch a Tulsi workout video. I'm sorry. Sorry, that was for you.
You set it up so well.
I'm an idiot. I'm sorry. It was pretty fun. It's pretty funny, though.
Somehow we got back here.
Because it's funny.
It's amazing.
At this point, it's comedy. No, I mean, I think it's interesting, and I think that this is, though, where there also is like, because I see, of course, that power of Wall Street, of course, but I do see it as a subset of a problem that is structural capitalism.
Yeah.
And so I don't, and I think there are, like, one of the things that's really interesting about this time is that there are people like Bhaskar Sunkara who really are writing and theorizing like, this is something that is actually recognizable. Like this, like here is what a post-capitalist economy would look like that actually is like within the realm of like what we can express, right? And then there's other people doing more utopian things, some of which I think are cool, some of which I think are delusional. But but to me, like, the discourse is so skewed because the burden of proof is like, well, no other systems ever worked. No other systems ever worked. And it's like, well, even if I took that as like a truism, which I don't, that's a much more complicated picture than that. This system isn't working.
Yeah.
And this system is incompatible with our ecological limits. And this system replicates all of the same problems across sectors. So to me, like, I do see, like, of course, like, that's the part where I'm like, Bernie, like, he is a democratic socialist.
Yeah.
He sees a structural problem
And
at
he
the
could
base.
change. This is a specific moment in time where he could alter that system irrevocably in the right way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's why I feel strong about it. But it's a tension because I was trying to say earlier that, like, and maybe we'll do this working families clip in a second, that, like, I will criticize Warren on the merits where I think that there's legitimate, like, I think her position on single payer, I have a lot of questions about that. I think her foreign policy and military policy is, I won't even say it's particularly bad. It's just totally conventional.
Classic like, not even, it's classic middle of the road Democrat for this current time.
Which is
not
bad,
good.
right?
Yeah.
Like all of them. Like I'm, Bernie has problems, but like he's working to do something.
You know what? I
different.
actually meant to bring this up to you. I got confronted. So I was at the Elizabeth Warren rally yesterday, and a Warren supporter came up and like fucking yelled at me
for coming on my show.
No, for that question on her military record. So, like, first of all,
Are
I'm
you
like,
serious?
yeah,
See, stop doing this.
Right.
Sorry, go ahead.
Right.
Yes.
So she comes up to me. She's like, I was hoping to see you here. And I was like, oh, a fan, right? Because I get some of those. And there were some really nice people that came to talk to me yesterday. And she just kind of went at me for 5 minutes. And she wanted to have a conversation, but it was like, one of those passive aggressive things. And then we're in this, like, there's thousands of people.
Maybe she had been exposed to wheat before talking to you.
Perhaps. She kept trying to pull up, like, she was like, Warren has addressed this military budget thing, and like, it was like some press release on her website, and she was like, I don't know why you wouldn't include this in your reporting. I'm like, okay, well, I gave her an opportunity to answer my question, and that was her opportunity to bring up what was in this very elusive press release that you're trying to load on your phone, but we have no service. And she's trying to get me to stand there for like 5-10 minutes I'm like, lady, I got a job to do. And so I get this from really both sides, to be honest. But I thought that was fascinating because I think that clip kind of penetrated because she really did dodge my question. And
she dodged it completely.
There really was no answer. And I was surprised that someone random in a crowd like felt strongly enough about it to come up to me about it.
Well, let me run this by you because I don't, because I commented on that clip and it was a great question and another perfect example of why people should stop being babies about you like saying what you like.
Yeah.
Which is really what it comes down to. But I think the reason she can't answer that question is it's super simple. Like, one is that, yes, she has a totally conventional, non-imaginative, non-thinking foreign policy. That's true of all other mainline Democrats. But it's also the fact that, like, she's a senator from Massachusetts and she's a point person for Raytheon. Mm-hmm. That's a major employer in Massachusetts. And
it's the same reason why Cory Booker is soft on the pharmaceutical industry, which is huge in New Jersey.
100%. And I feel like, to me, this is also the difference between having a power analysis and having a corruption analysis. Because if she did the Trump move, it would have been brilliant. She was like, look, I did that because I'm critiquing this whole system, and that's an example of me being complicit in the system. But I don't think she's that style of politician.
Oh,
right?
Really?
Yeah. But I think if you asked Bernie about a vote like that, and Bernie would never, it's different because there isn't an analogous industry in Vermont. He wouldn't be a point person. But if you could find something like, I'm sure he's voted for like jet projects or whatever in Vermont that are incompatible with his other.
Okay, the crime bill, right? Although that was very public. Why
the crime bill is more the crime bill, and he explains.
Well, her
that.
explanation is that Raytheon employs so many people in Massachusetts or whatever.
100%.
So it's not entirely analogous, but that's also like a big, like his biggest blip on his record. But there's an entirely normal reason for it. So it's
and
not,
I'm saying his argument though, because he could just tell you like, well, my first obligation is people with jobs. So I had to cast that vote that I didn't like, and this is why I'm trying to do this, Y, and X, Y, and Z in terms of policy, right? And it would still work unless, in that case, you would be being a purist. I think what's tricky for her, and would be very tricky against Trump, is that if it's all predicated on, like, I'm clean, I'm clean, I'm clean, and then the truth is like nobody is clean.
Just address it.
And you're also not getting to the root of it, because the root of it is like, I don't know if that is corruption per se. That's power, and power has power over. Like you're working for Raytheon because they have power in your state, not because you're personally corrupt. And that's like the deeper root of like capital concentration. Who holds resources? Who doesn't hold resources?
Or she just could have addressed it there.
Or she could have just addressed
and then
it
come
there.
out with one of the plans. The medium posts, as you like to say.
Yes, they are literally medium posts.
And come out with your fancy schmancy foreign policy plan. If I feel like her campaign wants to roll them out slowly because they make news. It's really very interesting how that has become an actual, like the media is actually picking up on that. Do it Iraq. Do Afghanistan, stagger them week by week, and make foreign policy arguments, and then maybe people will feel a little better about your record there. That's some free advice.
I won't. No, I look forward to seeing them. Let's do
the medium post.
Let's do this real quick. What?
It's a longer clip.
All right, let's do this post game. But first, I do want to do one more quick segment.
Sorry, I always take up so much of your time.
That's why you're here.
Oh, okay, right.
You know what sucks so much is all of a sudden I'm worried about swearing on this show.
They've
started demonetizing videos.
Oh, I'm really sorry, guys.
So it's like you just owe me a couple $100.
Okay, all right. I'll pay it to you in
just
In Warren cash.
in
just
medium.
send me medium post.
Medium post. That's how she pays me.
Yeah. I have a plan for that. I really wish I could do a Warren impression, because I wish Warren would start threatening, like the way how Trump's always like, my
She
people.
talks like I don't know.
Okay, you do. You kind of have it.
She talks like this, like that.
You have it. So can I feed you a line?
Sure.
You know how Trump always is like, my people are great people, but they're angry. And when they're angry, people do things. He's always threatening that his fans are basically going to like commit public violence.
Right, which they are.
Which they are. It's really funny. Not, right? Can we do Elizabeth Warren doing the same thing, though? Like her version of like, they're good people, but they're angry. And when they're angry, they do bad things. Like, I would just love.
My fans are good people. I can't. You're better at it.
I can't do her voice.
But it's breathy. It's Oklahoma-y, and it's not very loud.
She's really. You think she leans into that accent a little bit?
I don't know. It's been this way for a while. It's like Bernie gets more Brooklyn as time goes on.
That is true. That is true. He's getting hoarse. You just watched a Michael Brooks show video. Subscribe to get them all. Why wouldn't you? Don't be foolish. Click subscribe below and become a patron as well. Patreon.com/TMBS. Thanks, everybody.